welcome to the Diabetes Empowerment Summit. I am Kiana Drew, your co-host this year, and I'm excited to introduce our special guest. She is a mother of someone with type 1 diabetes, and myself being a mother, it is very important to showcase the support system of people with diabetes, and number one support system for a child is their parents. Her name is Tameka Raymond. She shares a son with entertainer Usher Raymond. Her son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 5. And that's, we all know that's very hard to navigate. Welcome, Tameka. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
It's so important to share these stories, and this is why we have the Diabetes Empowerment Summit. It is to educate people, to inspire people, to encourage people that they can still live a full life despite the diagnosis.
Right.
I'm excited because you're a mom. This is the first time I've interviewed someone who is a parent of a type 1 diabetic.
Got it. Okay. Yes.
So Tameka, when your son was diagnosed, was he immediately just diagnosed? Was it a routine visit to the doctor, or was he showing some signs that alarmed you?
Yeah. Well, see, he was, 5, I'd say 5 years old, and he was very lethargic, like for about a week. He just didn't have any energy, and he's unusually hyper. He's like, he's the kid that will scale the side of a building like Spider-Man, or jump in a tree, or, jump in the pool because he's a really great swimmer. And he was just very lifeless. He didn't have any energy, and we couldn't figure out why. I was asking my nanny, why do you think he's just kind of laying around all the time? It seems weird. But he didn't have a fever, and he didn't, I don't know, he just was very thirsty. He couldn't quench, he had an unquenchable thirst. And one day at the movies, I remember he was sitting through a movie, and he had to go to the restroom like 4 times. I have to go back to the bathroom. I was like, what is going on with your bladder? So I immediately thought maybe a bladder infection, but I was like, how did he get a bladder infection at 5,
Right.
And then one night he wet the bed. And that was just odd because he was already 5. He was, already well potty trained. It didn't make sense. So I told him to get up and go to the bathtub, and he just was like lifeless. And I kind of helped him over to the bath, and I said, what is going on with you? I said, you know what? We're going to the doctor. I was like, we're going to the doctor. My nanny said, I heard that this is the symptoms of diabetes, and I thought she was crazy. I was like, diabetes? Tired? I don't get, I didn't see the correlation. And when I got there, literally we were in emergency for a few minutes. His dad was in another country, actually, filming a movie. And I called him and I said, something is wrong. We're at emergency. And the doctor walked in, pricked him, and came back like 2 minutes later and was like, yeah, these are all the symptoms, and these are the signs, and his blood shows that he's high and he has diabetes. And I almost nearly fainted in there because I thought it was like a death sentence,
Yes.
I didn't know anything about it. So
and what was his blood sugar? Do you remember what that number?
God, he was in the 3s. I know he was, he was over 300. And they were explaining that, he was nearing ketoacidosis, and that he was really, really high, to be at his age and everything. And they explained, we had to stay in the hospital for 3 days because I had to go through a certain, tutorial. I had to go through a course to learn about how to care for him.
Right. So they had to meet with a dietitian.
Yeah, the dietitian, and we had classes. Like I had to be at the class like at 9 in the morning. And it was like an all-day course, like a 6-hour course. And we did it 2 days in a row. And his father flew in, and, he was able to attend the second day of the course to kind of learn about what this new diagnosis, because it was kind of came from left field, it was just very unexpected.
Yes. And that's how, for a lot of people who are diagnosed with type 1, it seems sudden, and it seems sudden to us, but there is something that is going on in the body over time. And then once the signs are that prevalent, where you're constantly urinating, you're lethargic, leg cramps will happen, blurred vision will happen, there's already 80% of your beta cells that produce insulin have already, they are no longer. So the immune system
It
has.
just seems, for me as a parent, I initially thought it was just a gimmick because I felt like, this is some kind of shoe-in with the pharmaceutical companies. Oh God, excuse me. It just didn't make any sense to me. I just thought to myself, how does a, perfectly normal kid who has not had any exposure to anything, or, I just didn't understand, how this onset came to be. And I felt like I still, have my doubts about it. It seems somewhat like a newer disease. Like growing up, I didn't have friends that were like, hey, I got to get my insulin, and I grew up in the 70s. So I don't remember playing kickball with my friends or tetherball. We used to play. And I don't remember anybody stopping to take a shot. So.
Right. That's something, the online diabetes community, which I'm a part of, is really big. And we have plenty of people. Juvenile diabetes is what it was once called. When you're diagnosed with type 1, it's
Right.
when you're a child, or anywhere between infancy and age 25. I was diagnosed a few days before my 21st birthday.
Wow.
Kind of fall in that window, but it was new for me as well. I didn't grow up with any friends. I didn't know about it. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is a false reporting, but there is more, we see more cases of white people who have type 1, not Black people. We're more so, or people of color. We more so have type 2 is what most doctors are used to diagnosing.
That's right.
Diabetes. So a lot of times people of color get misdiagnosed as type 2 when they're really a type 1. And we don't necessarily know too much about people of color who have type 1. And only now is it becoming a little more prevalent, and we're starting to see it develop more so in people of color.
Right.
I'm not quite sure why that's the case, or if it's just there's not enough history or not enough tests. Maybe we're just getting misdiagnosed, but it's been around for a long time, type 1 diabetes. It's now starting to be, cross all ethnicities at this point,
Right. Right.
Indian, Caucasian, it's everywhere. So,
Yep.
Which is another reason why I thought it was important to interview you, because there's this misconception that it's not really happening in our communities, but it is.
Sure.
And so people can see the signs and be able to get on top of it early, because signs like the lethargic feeling and the urinating, sometimes you're getting misdiagnosed and it's either a bladder infection or the flu. And there have been people who have gone years being misdiagnosed, and that leads to complications and things of that sort. So
Right.
caught it early. So once you got out of the hospital, which I know I will never forget, anyone who is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes will never forget what it's like that first day home and doing this all by yourself.
I had a nanny, and she was helping me out. But it was hard for her because the first time I think we'd given him too much insulin. So he had gotten like really like woozy and like, he was about to faint. And she called 911. I remember her calling me and said, the ambulance is almost here. And I was like, what? I wasn't home. I was like, oh my God. This is like 2 days after, we had gotten home. It was very hard, and everybody was so on edge and so panicked about how much insulin to give. And we were losing our minds. I need a midday nap. Look, so we're talking about this, and let me tell you, I'm sleepy in the middle of the day because I still get up at night and check him.
Yes,
I'm still doing the checks at 4 a.m. So I'm still like, that's why my sleep schedule is all crazy.
Yeah.
But Yeah, it was, that first week was very tedious, and everybody was yelling at everybody because we were like, you gave him too much. You didn't give him enough. The doctor said the ratio, we were going through that whole phase.
Oh,
But
wow.
now we really have the hang of it. That's so far behind us now.
That's
Thank
great.
God.
And
Hmm.
is he in a place now too where he's more so self-aware where he can kind of tell you,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I'm feeling a little weird?
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? He's interesting because even when I'll check him and he's like 300 again, he's so accustomed to being 300 that he doesn't feel it. I
Mm,
don't know if he feels it or if I'll say, do you know that your numbers are, you're like at 289 right now. You need to take some insulin. And he'll just be like, okay, give me a unit. But he doesn't act affected.
mhm.
I'll tell you, the one that I know bothers him is when he feels low. That's the one that I'll hear him say, look, I feel low. And I guess, how does that make you feel when you're low?
I was low this morning. You're gonna get the shakes. Like I'll get shaky, my palms will get sweaty, um, I'll get dizzy, I'll get real snippy. Just and this type of like face for no reason whatsoever. I'm annoyed. I'm very short tempered.
Wow.
I have two kids myself, and my kids may ask me something real simple, and I'll just snap at them.
I'm like,
Yeah, not that I mean to, and my kids know now. My kids,
yeah,
Mom, is your sugar low? I'm just like, I'm so sorry, baby.
yeah,
but
right.
you'll get snippy, but it's a feeling of also you'll have this uncontrollable. It feels uncontrollable. I have it under control now, but hunger. And that's just, you may see him just drink all the juice or keep stuff in his mouth with whatever is there, if it's cookies, if it's bread, if it's candy. And that's just our body's natural mechanism of saving ourselves
Ah,
because our sugar is low and the only way to bring it back up is to eat.
right,
With that, I control it now. I'll still have that feeling of wanting to eat or continue to eat, but I know
right.
I'm going to bring my sugar right back up. So I keep glucose tabs, or there's
That,
something to have a small carb count to help me. And then I wait 15 minutes before, I grab something else to eat. Cause it's not that I'm hungry. It's just I'm trying to bring my sugar back up.
that's right.
So that's the type of feeling I'll get. I can get just very weak very quickly too, where I'm just like, I just need to sit down. I can't do
When
anything.
you're low, but then when you're high, how do you feel?
So that's the thing. When you're high, um, tired, um, not, if you spend long bouts of high blood sugars, that leads to ketoacidosis and that super lethargic feeling. Myself, I'm more so have a tight control, so I'm sensitive to my high. I'll be at like 180, and I've been diabetic for so long that I can feel things like I'll feel like a heat. It's like heat in my nose, but that's because I'm just so self-aware now, and it happens just over time. And your son, as he gets older, will start to recognize those things and be more self-aware as he takes on more responsibility as he gets older. But for me, I'll feel like a flush. It'll start with like a feeling a flush in my head, and then tired, um, bad mood, not the same mood that I'll have with the low blood sugar. Low blood sugar, I'm snippy. High blood sugar, I'm just almost kind of down, just like a down funk.
Hmm.
And it makes you moody. Diabetes, the blood sugars up and down will cause some mood changes. So if you ever
Wow.
see your son going through any moods, that's just stuff that happens with our blood sugars going up and down.
Got it.
Um,
Wow.
we stabilize. Once we have a healthy number, you're getting the true us there. You're getting,
That's
this is
good.
my attitude. This is me on a regular basis. So yeah, that's how I feel. Just tired. And now that I'm a mom, there's just so much to do in a day with work and taking care of
Laundry and
just cooking, making sure everybody got everything they need. That I'm very sensitive to it. So I try to keep tight control because it just make me too tired. I can't get done what I need to get done in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
and what do you see? And you see him just continue going. That's the one thing with high blood sugar. When you get, when you're a bit used to being high, you don't necessarily notice the signs
Right. Because he doesn't.
in that place.
Yeah.
And
Unless he's really high.
right.
If he went to a birthday party and he's had, all the candy on the table, like a candy table, and, he's eating maybe a little piece. He doesn't like cake, but if he has a small piece, if he's had to be really like, 500 almost. And then he starts to feel sick. He gets nauseous.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, he says he feels nauseous, like he's got to throw up if he's too high.
When it's too high.
Yeah.
Too high, yes. Too high, you're going to feel the lethargic, nauseous. Even your vision will start to get a little blurry. A little
Really?
vision.
I'll tell him that, to look for that.
And so, immediately take some insulin, stay hydrated, have them drink a lot of water.
What is the water? Does it help to flush, I guess?
Oh yeah, because your blood literally has sugar in it. And so it's clogging up. If you think of it, the cells that are in the blood are clogged with sugar. So it's almost like blood becoming syrup. If you put sugar in water,
right,
floods through. So take the insulin and just drink the water to get it moving. And so the kidneys, and you can, your body can do what it's meant to do.
Wow. That's interesting. That's one way to think. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Stay hydrated.
Diluted. That's right.
Have you ever had them go to a diabetes camp?
Yeah. We actually, there was one we lived in Atlanta, and we did one, God, I can't remember the camp in Atlanta, the name of it. Kudzu. Camp Kudzu. And then here we did another one in LA. We're in LA now. So it was kind of in the Big Bear, like mountain area. It was nice. That was fun. I went with them.
Oh, that's nice. That's important for kids to see other kids just like them.
Yep.
To have even that support system, especially being type 1, because there's a small percentage of us.
And, he feels super embarrassed. Like when he's around kids who don't have it, he's like, doesn't want anybody to see. Like he wouldn't wear the Dexcom for very long. He'd wear it, and then he had a pump. He has a pump too. He has all the stuff, and he won't use it. So he's just like, just prick me real quick. Come on, prick me. Looking around, prick me.
Oh, yeah. I went through that for a long time. I want to say I didn't get my pump until 5 years ago, and started wearing this until 5 years ago. And I felt the same way. Here I am a few years before I turned 21. I got the independence, and I was also in a girl group. And so at that point, I was signed to Arista Records, and I'm traveling and wearing crop tops and being cute. I said, I look disabled. This is not fashionable.
No, this doesn't go with my,
doesn't go with my outfit, no. And then, after time passed, you get to a place where you really start to look at life as a whole and what you want to accomplish, and realizing that if you don't put diabetes first, then you're just going to slow your roll in so many other ways. And at some point it'll hit you, and it happens over time. So I started developing, some complications, and nothing huge, but enough to, say, okay, I got to make some changes here, and I got to put this first. And then once I became a mom, that's a whole nother layer to live for.
That's right. What kind of complications did you experience? I'm curious.
Cataracts, actually. I had cataracts in both my eyes, so I had to have cataract surgery, which happens to people old in age. So with diabetes, you have uncontrolled blood sugars for a significant amount of time. And for me, before I started to really hone in on my care, I want to say I struggled for like a good 10 years of not doing what I was supposed to, 10 to 11 years.
What were you, not taking insulin? Not really?
Yes, I also was struggling with something called diabolia. So more so prevalent, and it can happen to boys and girls. And unlike anorexia and bulimia, it's when someone who has diabetes doesn't take their insulin so that they can lose weight. So yes.
Is insulin fattening?
It's an anabolic hormone. And so it has it does a lot of different jobs. But
Oh. Do I need to take some?
it does a lot, no, your body.
Oh my God. I don't know. Well, wait a minute. I need to get a little shot or two.
But with insulin, see, it actually, one of the jobs of it is to take the energy and the sugar and everything that we eat into our cells. So it's basically the key to open up our cells to take in all our food for energy. And if we don't have insulin, which is what happens to someone with type 1 diabetes, because our body does not produce it anymore, then our body switches over to its second form of fuel. The first form is sugar from carbohydrates and the foods we eat. Second source is fat. So if there's no insulin on board in your body, and your body's not making it, your body then starts to take fat and break it down and turn that into, you also have sugar stored in your muscle, so it will break down your muscle and you'll start to lose weight very rapidly because the insulin isn't there. So that's why, for me, I lost, and one of the biggest signs of type 1 diabetes is losing a significant amount of weight very fast. So once I got out of the hospital and was put back on insulin, I quickly gained about 15 pounds, like over 3 weeks. And here I am again in the industry, walking around, everybody looking perfect and trying to keep up appearances and saying, I'm hearing people saying, oh, you need to just tone up a little bit. And I was by no means overweight, but here I am, impressionable, young in this industry that is very, visually driven and aesthetics. So I would omit insulin. It started me like trying to take as little as possible because I was trying to prove that I wasn't diabetic. So it started there. And that happens sometimes where you're like, I don't want to accept that this is my life from here on out, that I have to take these shots and I have to do this. And when you're initially diagnosed, you go through a honeymoon phase where you still have some beta cells making insulin. So you almost feel like you're cured. And so then I thought.
I know. Let me ask you this. All of you all that have been diagnosed, is it possible that maybe you just have a faulty pancreas? Like suppose your pancreas is just not doing the right thing sometimes. I kept thinking that. I was thinking like, well, why can't, just like they have operations for your heart or for your eyes or for whatever, why can't you just repair the pancreas? You know what I mean?
I'm not a medical doctor.
I know. I'm wondering. Curious.
But from the research that I have done, my personal research, and also just the pancreas doesn't just control insulin, the insulin hormone. There are other hormones that work just fine. So the pancreas is still working. It's just the cells that secrete the insulin are no longer there, and they're attacked by our immune system. Now, when they say that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease, or lupus is an autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, vitiligo, we don't know what's going on. Doctors don't have an answer. And my theory is because you don't know why my body decided to attack itself, you're going to call it an autoimmune disease. I don't know. They don't know either. So we just kind of best navigate it as we can by injecting the one thing our pancreas isn't doing, and that's producing the insulin. So we're injecting insulin. The reason why you're not getting the transplant, or you can't just fix it by getting a new pancreas, is because the pancreas does other things. People who get pancreas transplants and are then healed from diabetes, also keep in mind that they have to take immunosuppressive drugs for the rest of their life as well, because you're taking someone else's pancreas. Most people who get a pancreas transplant are those who most likely have kidney damage and end up on dialysis. And at that point, they're on a donor list for kidney. And when you're on a donor list for a kidney, 9 times out of 10, you get a pancreas and a kidney at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, they don't think of it as, severe enough to get a brand new pancreas. They're just insulin. And there are so many trials that they're doing to try to stem cells,
Yeah.
and things of that sort. And for years, they've been saying, 5 more years, we'll get a cure, another 5 years. And they've been saying that for a long time. But the best thing that we can do with what we do know is to check our blood sugars, number one, and take that insulin.
That's right. That's right. That's what I have to keep telling my son. I'm like, okay, you just had cereal, so you have to cover yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't just have a big bowl of cereal and milk and sugar and all this good stuff without insulin.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you think, now in your journey, where do you think you guys, have done better, as far as from where you started, where you didn't know much? And
I mean, I think we've gotten to it's very smooth. It's well oiled. You know what I mean? I think he knows, at night he has to take his Lantus, which is, his nighttime time release medicine. And then he's pretty good about taking, his insulin during the day. But just if he's like around friends and he's having fun, he won't stop to take it. I have to remind him, like, you just had a hot dog and this and that and that, you need to give yourself about 3 units, or 4 units or whatever to cover. And, I think we're doing really well. And also understanding how to do the math with the ratios.
Right.
We've got, a lot better.
And that would change over time too, as you're growing, because it's changing with me. Just, you'll find that different things or different stages in his life, he may need more insulin or less insulin. And it's just forever collecting data. You're forever collecting information.
Yeah.
I think you're doing great.
I feel like we are. Thank you.
Yeah. I know a lot of parents, just like yourself, they have that 2 a.m. wake up in the morning, check the blood sugar.
I've been doing this for 7 years. So I don't feel like I get any sleep at all. I feel like, my body just wakes me up. Like at 3 or 4 in the morning, I pop up and I go, I need to check him. Because my fear is for him to go low in his sleep, or 2. Yeah. So I'm nervous about that. Then I also get up, and a lot of times I'll take him to the restroom because he sleeps so hard. He doesn't feel it. I don't know if that's related to his diabetes or what, but he sleeps like a train can go through his room. He wouldn't hear it.
Well, he's a kid. My kid sleeps super hard too.
Oh, this is unbelievable though. This is next level. Like you can't get him up at all.
No.
Yeah, it's hard to get him up.
Does he wear the Dexcom? He won't wear it. So that's why you're waking up. Because if he wore the Dexcom, you still be waking up, but you'll hear the alarm instead.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't like it. Because if he's out with his friends and that thing starts beeping, he's like, Mom, I hate this.
Right.
Yeah. He's rough. So, if you bump it enough times, it gets sore too, the area.
Yeah, that's true. And you said he's super active. So
active, yes. Flips and cartwheels and trampolines and all that. All of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's something that you would want to share? Because there's going to be moms out here watching. What is something you want to share with mothers of kids who have type 1 diabetes?
I just want them to know that you can get through this. A lot of people, it feels like it feels like a death sentence initially. When you hear it, I mean, I fell out crying. I was hysterical in the hospital when I got the diagnosis, but it's been far more manageable than I imagined. Just let the moms know you can do it. Just once you get your education about it, it'll flow a lot easier than you think. You know what I mean? Like I said, initially, the initial shock will, once you get beyond the initial shock, the care of your child, it is a little more hands-on. It's a little more high maintenance, but I think over time, I do it in my sleep. You know what I mean? I literally know how to check him really quick and cover him for whatever. Yeah. So It'll work itself out. I want the moms to know you'll be quite all right. You'll be able to do it.
Yeah, and you'll get a rhythm.
Absolutely. Yes, you have a rhythm.
Even if it's your rhythm of sleep. My rhythm
Even your rhythm of sleep. Oh, God.
But you know what? You are not alone in that, because as someone who's had type 1 diabetes for 20 years, I get up I want to say midnight when I go to sleep early. Sometimes I have days where I go to sleep with my kids, like they're asleep 9:30, I'm going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I will wake up at midnight and I wake up at 3. And I wear a Dexcom, but my body will automatically just wake itself up because I'm so used to that even before this.
Right.
And I wake back again at 6 o'clock. So that's something that even as someone with diabetes, I mean, I give it to you because we call people who are our support system our type 3s. They're almost, you got that job that eventually will be all your son's job when will be all of his responsibility once he grows up. But it's very similar to the things that we go through. So we're in here counting carbs and, trying to mathematical equations in our head, thinking about, well, maybe I don't need that many carbs if I'm going to go swimming, but then I'm going to eat.
Right. Yeah, I do. Now, do you find that it's better to cover yourself before you eat or after?
Oh, before.
Before always? Yeah.
Want to do 20 minutes before whatever it is that he's going to eat, but also especially when it's carbohydrates. So if he's eating it,
Excuse me.
Give him a bolus 20 minutes before.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was doing it before, but I was noticing that he would go low because he didn't eat all of his food. So that's where it gets tricky because, he gets up and he's ready to go play, or like if he's in the middle of something, he's like, I'm going back swimming. I don't want the rest of my hot dog. I'm like, wait, you need it.
Oh my gosh. And that's the one thing that is different from a parent's perspective, is how do you mitigate that? And you know what? It's just, you've experienced that. So that maybe giving him that insulin 20 minutes before you might not want to give him the full dose. You might want to give him, a micro dose just in case. And then if you see that he finishes it, you give him the rest.
Yeah, that's what I had to start doing. Because when I was doing it before, he'd end up dropping low because I would literally be following him around with the plate like, you have to eat some more bread. You have to eat.
Oh my gosh. I could just imagine the parents that are they're gonna watch and say, yep, just running after your kids. Imagine.
With a piece of bread, like, have a cookie, please.
I know.
Begging them to eat sugar is the opposite of life, right?
Most parents are trying to get the sugar away from their kids.
Yes.
You're tasting your child to get some sugar. Like, here, eat these
for sure.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate your time, your presence. You dropped some gems, and I know that this is going to help many women, especially women of color, who are going to be watching to see that you can do this. We can do this.
We can do it.
It's going to ride, but you can do it.
Yes, it is. It's a challenge, but you can do it. It's doable.
And one thing I want to personally share with you is that your son, in time, he will see diabetes differently. There'll be different stages of his life where he may, right now he's young, but as he gets older, he'll realize that he's doing something that other people aren't doing, along with all the other extraordinary things that humans can do.
Right.
This extra stage. And that almost gives you a little superpower, because no one knows that at the same time you're counting carbs, you're taking your insulin, your injections, and you're already put in a place to treat yourself the way that you should. We don't get taught early on how important it is to take care of ourselves. And diabetes almost forces us to do that much earlier.
It makes you have to pay attention. Yeah.
Have to pay attention. Yeah. So you're doing great. As
I think I've got the hang of it. I think I'm doing all right. The only thing I wish I could get through is the up at night part. But I think as he gets older, he'll become more responsible in that regard
he
to
will.
get himself up, to, check himself or go to the bathroom, things like that. That's the only thing I am a little bit like, come on, when are those days going to be over?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one extra step for the type 1D parent.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel, but once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Everyone, thank you so much for joining the Diabetes Empowerment Summit, and check in. We have many other wonderful guests. Bye.
Bye.